I just, okay. 1 second. I hit okay and I lost what I need. There we go. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I am Dawn Bruno, Co-Chair VP of Workforce Development at PHLSHRM. Today's session builds directly on the conversation we started at our February roundtable on HR apprenticeships through the SHRM Foundation's HR RAP program. At that time, we heard great insights from employers and an apprentice. So this is a follow-up session designed to go a step further, diving deeper into what looks like in practice and how you can apply it within your own organizations. So this is our committee members, and this is my co-chair, Kina, and we have Shana and Christina Daniels. So leading HR organization, if you want to just take a look at PHLSHRM at a glance, we are for connecting and developing professionals in the greater Philadelphia business community. We have over 1,300 active members from 500 plus companies, and our workforce development committee is focused on untapped talent powered by the SHRM Foundation. The SHRM Foundation is committed to widening pathways to work for available talent. We do that through many ways: older workers, military professionals, people with different abilities, opportunity youth is our focus today. So what is the SHRM HR RAP? It is a U.S. Department of Labor registered apprenticeship. It's designed to solve talent challenges for entry-level roles in human resources. It's through paid on-the-job learning, mentorship, structure-related training, instruction, SHRM industry recognized credentials, and PHLSHRM's mission is to expand the HR talent pipeline through education, HR business education, and workforce partners on apprenticeships and HR RAP. We connect untapped talent in Philadelphia to meaningful HR careers. And at this time, we're going to do a quick poll to kind of gauge where you are. But our partners today is Apprenticeship Philadelphia, Philadelphia Works, Apprenti. We have an apprenticeship employer spotlight. We're going to have a discussion, and then we're going to tell you some next steps. So let's start with our first polling question. What is the size of your organization? If you can just answer that poll so we have an idea of what our audience is like. And are we able to show those results? Okay, why don't we go on to the next polling question. How large is your HR team? Oh, there we go. All right. So we have some smaller, 18%. Okay. Okay, our next polling question. How large is your HR team? Are we able to show the results of that poll? Okay, 2 to 3. Yeah, a lot of them are small. All right, thank you. So at this time, I'm going to introduce and turn it over to Robert Ganone and Gloria Fellini of Philadelphia Works. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Robert Ganone, and I'm an apprenticeship specialist at Philadelphia Works. So here at Philadelphia Works, we do have an apprenticeship team consisting of myself, my colleague Gloria Fellini, as well as our manager of apprenticeships and our director of apprenticeship and training. If you're not aware, Philadelphia Works is the city's workforce development board. So what that means basically is that we help to um, manage workforce solutions that respond to business needs and increase economic opportunity for all Philadelphia residents. As part of the specific team and apprenticeship that we are a part of, what we do is we speak with organizations and offer technical assistance to them. So, in terms of registering an apprenticeship in Pennsylvania, we go through the state office, apprenticeship and training office. What we do is, as organizations look to develop, register, and manage their apprenticeships or pre-apprenticeships, we do work pretty closely with them on that process. In addition to that, we also offer funding options for apprenticeships as well. We also have a collaborative called Apprenticeship PHL, which we'll talk more about in just a moment. But essentially, what that is a collaboration with local organizations and training partners and others in the apprenticeship ecosystem. And through that, we have various events, and we also share information and resources. We do partnership and networking, as well as outreach and recruitment with other partners in the apprenticeship sphere there. So if you're unaware about apprenticeship, basically to give a little overview, first and foremost, it is a job from day one. And what that apprenticeship includes is classroom learning. So there is something called related technical instruction, as well as mentorship, which is very big in apprenticeship to make sure that the apprentices are getting the support they need through it. It also includes a nationally recognized credential so that by the time the apprentice graduates, they do have that credential because, of course, they're building up skills throughout the apprenticeship. So it's sometimes referred to as an earn and learn model because as they are working, they are also learning the specific skills needed for that occupation and growing throughout that. Now, there's also lots of benefits to apprenticeship, including certainly retention. Before we get to some of these benefits, I do want to turn it over to my colleague Gloria, who does have a few more poll questions for you as well. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So yes, as Robert mentioned, we are going to, we'll highlight some of the benefits that employers see, which you can see up on this slide. Before we talk through them, though, I would like to launch some poll questions from you all, just to kind of get to know, where you're coming from in talent needs and how apprenticeship can support. So the first question we have here is, what is the biggest challenge that you see in hiring and retaining talent? So if you could take a moment to answer that question, that would be helpful. There's a few different options here, and then also an other option if none of these really speak to you. Okay, just give another moment and then we can show the results for that one. Okay, so it looks like one of the most common challenges is high competition from other employers. So that's helpful to know that, and that is something that we do see a lot of times with employers who decide to pursue creating or joining a registered apprenticeship program. So that's helpful. If we could launch the next question as well. So the next one is, have you ever hired any opportunity youth? So this question, either yes or no, with opportunity youth being the focus of the HR apprenticeship program that we're going to be talking about today. So just interested to see if we have employers in the room now who have already worked with this target population. Okay, so most not, and that's perfectly fine. And I know that we are going to talk more about that later on in the presentation. And I believe we have one more question, which is, do you expect hiring this year to increase, stay the same, or decrease? Okay, so for most of you all, staying the same. Okay, that's also helpful to know. So, um, okay, so in terms of the benefits that we are highlighting right now, these are, so first I just want to point out kind of where we're at with apprenticeships, registered apprenticeships in Pennsylvania. So right now there are over 1,500 registered apprenticeships in Pennsylvania, and that number is growing. I think we're well past that at this point, but I think it speaks to the fact that we are seeing lots of different kinds of occupations becoming formally registered apprenticeship programs. So I think we a lot of the times may often associate apprenticeship with the building trades or manufacturing, but we do in fact see a lot of the numbers that contribute to this number here are in different occupations as well. So technology, the one you're hearing about today is in HR, and healthcare is also growing. So we are seeing that. I think some of the benefits that employers see. So I think the first one being speaking to employment retention. So 90% employment retention for employers, for apprentices who um, essentially stay with their employer after they complete their apprenticeship program. So it's most likely that someone who is hired who goes through an apprenticeship program is more likely to stay with their employer. 91% improved pipeline of skilled workers. So this really speaks to how the apprenticeship structure is built. So when you have an earn and learn model, you have your talent pipeline comes out skilled in the occupation that they're being trained in. So overall, we see increased productivity and decreased staff turnover. And then the average return on investment for employers who pursue utilizing apprenticeship as a workforce solution is $1.47 for every dollar invested. So this is just high level, some of the benefits that employers see. This information comes from the Department of Labor. So we do see this, as more programs become registered, we see these numbers, stay pretty consistent and high in terms of all of these components with retention and skilled workers. Okay, so we wanted to touch on Apprenticeship PHL just very quickly. I think Robert mentioned this earlier. So our team here manages a regional collaboration called Apprenticeship PHL, and our goal is to increase and align registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs for the benefit of residents and employers. So really what we do is we convene apprenticeship programs and employers who are looking to utilize apprenticeship. And our goal really is to help expand the apprenticeship model in this region by engaging more folks in this network. So some more information about Apprenticeship PHL. So our website for additional information on us is apprenticeshipphl.org. We are we've been around for actually 7 years now. So we've done 7 years of impact. We have we've really built out our network to include a lot of the existing registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs in this region. So you can actually find a lot of what already exists in this area through our apprenticeship directory, which we have a QR code for. And so if you visit the website, you can see that, and then you can also contact us as well through the website.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gloria, and thank you, Robert. And at this time, for those of you that did attend our in-person session that we had at the Philadelphia Chamber back in February, Sherry Willis from Apprenti gave us a great presentation, and she's here today to recap some of the information that she shared with us then. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Sherry.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. You can advance to the next slide, please. So we know there's currently a workforce crisis here in the US. Nearly 70% of organizations are having difficulty recruiting for full-time regular positions. And today I'll tell you how registered apprenticeship can help ease that burden for your organization, specifically for HR talent. We know there's record job openings in HR. One of the polls we just did kind of alluded to, some competition when it comes to hiring HR folks as well. We have the challenge of the silver tsunami or the baby boomer retirements, and we have declining college enrollments. All of this is leading to traditional hiring pipelines being too slow or too narrow to meet today's needs. So about 11 years ago, we were kind of in the same space in the tech landscape. There was a digital skills shortage where the traditional supply of skilled workers wasn't meeting the needs of industry. When you think about the traditional sources of talent, you've got a finite number of college graduates. You have the constant challenge of poaching talent from other companies and the expense of that, and limited visas, which we know are now even more limited for international talent. And so the pathways simply weren't adequate to fill the growing gap. And our CEO envisioned a powerful solution of registered apprenticeship. It isn't a new concept, but we've adapted this proven model to help companies proactively build their workforce. And so that's how Apprenti's journey began. And while our roots are in tech, we've successfully expanded into non-tech sectors like life sciences, advanced manufacturing, and HR, which is precisely what we'll dive into today. Now, when most people think of apprenticeships, they still picture the trades, right? Your plumbers and your electricians. However, modern apprenticeships are nearly 50-50 between trades and non-trade industries. Apprenticeships, like I said, are available in healthcare, tech, finance, AI, HR, and they can be a solution for entry-level roles, mid-level roles, and incumbent upskilling and reskilling. Now, Robert already kind of went over this, so I won't spend too much time here, but the components of registered apprenticeship are always there with every registered apprenticeship, whether it's in the trades or in the non-trades. They are industry-led, so programs start because employers and industry have a need, and the companies actively help us design the curriculum and define the skills that are needed for success. They are paid, so they are an earn and learn model, and apprentices earn a living wage from the start with raises built in as they hit their skill milestones. There's two pieces of education included in a registered apprenticeship. There's the formal education or the related technical instruction that really sets the base skills and knowledge required to be capable during on-the-job training. And then the on-the-job training and mentorship is the other part of the education. That's where really about 80% of the learning for the apprentice happens. And so that learning doesn't stop in the classroom. They're constantly learning on the job, and they have formal guidance and informal, invaluable mentorship along the way. Apprenticeships always champion equal employment opportunity, and we work with community partners to ensure that apprentices represent the full makeup of the local population. Quality and safety are always paramount, from the training to the work environment. And at the end of successful completion, apprentices who complete their apprenticeship earn a portable, nationally recognized DOL credential within their industry. Now, I mentioned registered apprenticeships are both a way to upskill and reskill and bring in net new talent. So this is kind of Apprenti's model on both of these pathways. In the incumbent model, employers simply select the staff that they would like to have join the apprenticeship, and Apprenti enrolls them and starts them on their journey of the apprenticeship. When bringing on net new talent, Apprenti has a pool of candidates that we have sourced, screened, and assessed that we can provide to you at a 2-to-1 ratio. You then get to interview them, select the candidate you'd like to extend an offer to, and then they start their employment with you. They also begin their apprenticeship journey. Some of the most asked questions from employers are, what are their roles and responsibilities when working with an apprenticeship intermediary like Apprenti? And really, the employer is responsible for paying wages and providing benefits to the apprentice, supervising them like a standard employee, but most importantly is providing access to a mentor and providing those on-the-job training opportunities to help them gain the competencies required to do the job. You'll track and share the apprentice progress with Apprenti and recognize milestones achieved by the apprentice. Apprenti gets to do all of the more bureaucratic work when it comes to apprenticeship. So reporting back, maintaining compliance, and all of that kind of thing. This slide is an example of companies that Apprenti has worked with in the past that utilized this method for incumbent upskilling. So you'll see here we have folks that were reskilled from fulfillment or warehouse worker roles into tech roles. And this is an area where we've seen a lot of success for HR folks as well. HR, as I've been talking to organizations, HR employees tend to sometimes fall into an HR role. They started as an executive assistant or as an office admin and ended up transitioning into the HR department, but never had that full learning of all of the aspects of HR. So an apprenticeship is a great way to kind of round out their full knowledge of human resources. This next slide is some examples of real apprentices that have come through the Apprenti program that were net new to the employers that they joined. And you'll see they've gone from, hourly jobs, veterans that have transitioned out of the military, unemployed, into some real life-changing roles for them. Some information about Apprenti, and you'll see some of these stats look a little bit the same from what Gloria was talking about. So we have an almost 90% retention of the apprentices. And when you compare this to interns, which is only about 40% of the time our interns retained, there's a real advantage to bringing folks in through registered apprenticeship. The average age of our apprentices is about 31. And we kind of highlight this just to show you that these are not new to the workforce type of employees. They bring life experience and work experience, and they're able to use those transferable skills in their new career. And then 75% of our placements at Apprenti have come from untapped talent groups, which we're very proud of. Now let's talk specifics about the HR Registered Apprenticeship Program. So SHRM Foundation started this program about 4 years ago, and along the way realized they really did not want to be in the business of registered apprenticeship and administering the Registered Apprenticeship Program. And so they partnered with Apprenti about a year ago. We were able to take kind of the bones of what SHRM Foundation started and really package it into a bundle with a lot of value add for the apprentice. So for their formal training or related technical instruction, we're utilizing 2 pieces of learning from SHRM. So that's the SHRM Essentials of Human Resources and the SHRM Certification Prep System. The training is asynchronous, so it's flexible and self-paced. And we expect apprentices to complete this core learning within about their first 6 months of the apprenticeship, which is about 5 to 6 hours per week for dedicated training. Another key component is a full year of SHRM membership, which extends their professional development in the world of HR. And finally, a significant benefit, apprentices also receive an exam voucher for the SHRM CP certification. So this certification we found as we started our partnership with SHRM is a huge draw. It's a major reason individuals themselves want to be part of the program. Because the CP exam is behavioral based, the synergy between the structured classroom learning and their hands-on on-the-job experience creates a powerful pathway to successfully earning that certification. The duration of the program is about 1 to 2 years. It's competency based, so the pace is really set by you, the employer, and the apprentice. And at the end of the program, of course, they receive their DOL certificate upon successful completion. One of the unique features of this apprenticeship is the ability for the apprentice to specialize. So all apprentices will complete the core work and behavioral competencies. However, based on the needs of you, the employer, they can be assigned one of these 6 specialty areas. The competencies are already built into the standards of apprenticeship, so it makes it really simple to be able to specialize and meet the needs of your organization for that apprentice. So Gloria talked about the ROI of apprenticeships. For every dollar invested in registered apprenticeships, employers see a return on investment of $1.47. This return on investment is really seen in reduction in recruitment costs, higher productivity, and higher retention rates. The standard program cost for the HR registered apprenticeship program through Apprenti is $5,000, but through SHRM, we can extend a preferred partner rate of $3,500 per apprentice. Now, as you can see on this slide, by SHRM's own reporting, the average cost to bring on a net new non-executive employee is $5,475. So you're already seeing almost a $2,000 cost advantage there. But in reality, what we're trying to get across is that you can train and develop your talent for less than the average cost of hiring through apprenticeship. Another way to look at the cost savings is through salaries. So apprenticeship wage schedules are typically 70% from that of a typical journey worker rate, or the rate in which you would bring in a fully trained HR specialist into your organization. So bringing in, once you add in the apprenticeship fee and or the talent recruitment fee on the other side, you can see significant savings between an apprentice versus a regular new employee hire. So the core question, why an HR apprenticeship? So the answer lies really in several powerful advantages for both the employer and the next generation of HR talent. It's helping you boost in productivity and keep your best people. When you train apprentices with your specific needs in mind, they become incredibly effective at addressing your business's unique HR landscape. This tailored development means higher productivity and a significantly increased likelihood of retaining these skilled individuals for the long haul. When you're investing in these apprentices, they become very sticky within your organization. They feel that loyalty. Apprenticeships also open up an entirely new source of HR professionals, so widening your talent search. You're unlocking a pipeline of untapped talent, all trained to the latest industry standards. There's effortless integration. So Apprenti handles the complexities of registered apprenticeship. We ensure seamless onboarding for all the apprentices, provide ongoing support and tracking of their progress every step of the way. This lets employers focus purely on on-the-job training and mentorship. And for the apprentices, this program isn't just a job, it's a launch pad. They gain invaluable practical skills and earn qualifications that are direct stepping stones to a successful and impactful career in human resources.
So Sherry, I think you had a couple poll questions as well before we turn it over. We could just...
Yeah, absolutely. Let's throw those up. All right, so this first one, does your company utilize skills-based or skills-first hiring practices? All right. So great. That's fantastic. We love to see this shift in industry in hiring for skills-based. Fantastic. All right, and my second question. Which entry-level HR roles are hardest for your organization to attract and retain?
Mm.
All right.
Okay.
Did we get the results on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right, mid-level HR generalists and entry-level HR coordinators coming at the top. Fantastic. All right, well, I hope that I was able to show you all how registered apprenticeship can be a great pathway for bringing in talent within your organization. And I will turn it back over to you, Dawn.
Thank you, Sherry. So at this time, one of our committee members, Dr. Christina Daniels, she is going to just, pose some questions that we had some questions that came in from some of our other participants. Just questions they ask both Apprenti and Philadelphia Works. So, Christina, do you want to facilitate that now?
Yes, I sure will. First of all, thank you, Dawn. And we got these questions from our meeting at the chamber after speaking with several of the participants that joined us. They kind of gave us some feedback as to additional things that they wanted to ask. So we thought this would be a great opportunity for Apprenti and Philadelphia Works to kind of hear these questions and answer them so that everyone could get these answers. So our first question is, what HR skills are most important? What are you guys seeing within these programs and that the employers are looking for?
Yeah, I'd be happy to start. I think there's two things that we see a lot of. One we just talked about in the poll, which was skills-based hiring. It's not, I know on here we saw a kind of a 70-30 split. It's not something that we're seeing all employers really comfortable with yet. So having people be more comfortable with skills-based hiring and having their HR teams be comfortable with skills-based hiring is really important. The other one that I'm seeing is really around kind of emotional intelligence and change management. So as our workplaces become more digital, more AI focused, that human element of HR becomes much more valuable.
Understood, Sherry. I just sat through a whole session on EQ within the change management space and how to incorporate AI. So I understand. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. And then Robert or Gloria, did you guys want to add anything to that question's response?
I mean, I think she answered it perfectly.
Yeah,
Okay.
agree. I think just being in the, more industry focused, I think that was a good overview of that.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to move into our next question, which is, from your experiences, what insight or feedback might you give just on supporting anyone that is going to utilize the apprenticeship program, right? So what feedback, what things have you seen, and how would you kind of front load us with support?
Apprenti does a ton when it comes to supporting not only employers and apprentices through this program. From the employer side, it's setting up the program, it's education on apprenticeship and how that can be a true talent solution for the entire organization, not just HR, but really bringing in new people as apprentices. So there's a lot of support around that. There's a lot of support around creating new occupations. So Apprenti is an apprenticeship intermediary as well. So a lot of what we do is evangelizing apprenticeship and helping organizations set up apprenticeships. From the apprentice side, there's a ton of support with our team. So our program management team works really closely with the apprentices themselves. If they have any challenges, we have an accessibility team that helps with all range of issues that an apprentice might have. And we work really closely with the employers too. At the end of the day, this is their employee, and we're there to support them.
Awesome. And I think that's one of the things that really makes this entire program stand out, right? If they need to reach out to someone for assistance, you guys are there. Okay.
Absolutely.
And Robert and Gloria?
Yeah, I guess I would just say that mentoring is such a big part of the apprenticeship program, and Apprenti has such a robust, mentoring process. That said, I do think employers should just be aware that there are certain tasks that, the apprentice should be completing as they work on the occupation, as well as I think just having, good supervision from the employer end. So that's just
Mhm.
something that, employers will have to think about for the mentoring of the apprentices.
Perfect. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I do think it's important that there's a mentorship piece on both ends, and just understanding that that's how this is going to be most successful. Gloria, did you want to add anything?
I think all I was gonna say, just more kind of higher level in general, is like as APHL, I think I think very similar to Apprenti and just how we support, growing programs. I think can speak more to kind of the local and regional level. So I think um, just, like being a general resource for folks as they sort of wrap their heads around how apprenticeship works. And so I think that's all I was going to add there, is just that general resource.
Perfect. Thank you. And I know one question that came up more than a few times at the chamber event was really around the return on investment and overall business impact. So can you guys just kind of speak to that piece? I know we went through some slides and looked at some numbers, but can we kind of dig into that a little bit more so that the employers on the line can kind of see what that may look like for them?
Yeah, I mean, we both, Philadelphia Works and I both kind of touched on this in our presentations. That ROI really comes into it really shines its light when you talk about the reduction in the recruitment costs, which we talked about, higher productivity and higher retention rates. I mean, the cost of having to replace an employee that's left is huge. You guys know, being in the HR space. Um, but we talked about that dollar invested is a $1.47 returned. We've also recently seen a study that talks about, apprenticeship costs are recouped within about 14 to 18 months as well. So you can think about it from a time perspective as well.
Yeah, I was going to say too, thank you, Sherry, for adding that like time frame, because I think for a lot of employers, it feels, potentially like there's just that unknown, right? Like how long is it going to take? And there's potentially, a lot of work up front. But I think, over time we've seen, the numbers sort of speak for themselves. And I think if this, you know, if you're looking to build up the talent and retain them over time, I think, and you used the words really well, Sherry, earlier, is like apprentices become very sticky with their employers, when they have gone through a program that isn't just training, but isn't just a job, right? It's a combination of both. Um, they are more loyal to the organization or the company.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you both for answering that question. And that kind of leads us to, we've seen a lot of benefits of this and great things that would come from the HR app. What were some implementation challenges that came up that you've seen from either of your perspectives that an employer would want to know?
I think for us, one thing that we have seen in the past and really try hard to mitigate now is buy-in from kind of that middle management area of the organization. So often, Apprenti is talking to maybe the C-suite or the executive level and working with an organization. And then when it goes to implementation, it's getting those really, frontline managers who are working with the apprentice on board as well. And so, getting that manager buy-in, helping them see the benefits of registered apprenticeship, providing mentorship opportunities as growth opportunities to employees, makes the implementation much easier.
That makes perfect sense. So really just if an employer is going to move forward with this, understanding to have the hiring managers or those direct managers give them a seat at the table so that they kind of
Yes,
understand what is going to happen so that they gain the buy-in early. It's not an afterthought. Okay, perfect.
absolutely.
And did anybody else want to add anything? Robert, I see you just came off mute.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I do think that we see some challenges if an employer is looking to start their own apprenticeship program that hasn't been developed yet, because it just takes some time and resources for that. But obviously, with this, it's an existing apprenticeship, so it's called a group model. So the employer basically does not have to do that much in the sense that they are signing on to an existing program already. So that alleviates a lot of like the recruiting in the beginning and some of that training and onboarding because Apprenti is there to support them. We're happy to support, whether individual or group, but I would say it's definitely an easier process joining an already existing group model apprenticeship program.
Perfect. Yeah. If there's already a template set that's working, right? Why try to do something different? And then just, to be mindful of time, I'll do the one more question, which is what happens when an apprentice doesn't work out? We know that that's a thing, right? It's a possibility. Most of these people are coming in and they're being very successful, but on the off chance that they are not, what does that look like for the employer?
Yeah. So I will say it actually doesn't happen very often at all. It's a pretty rare occurrence, but first and foremost, they are an employee and an employer should treat them as such. In my experience, on the rare occasion apprentice doesn't work out, it's usually for the same reasons a regular employee might not work out. Life circumstances, death of a family member, relocation of a spouse, illness, etc. And so the risk really is about the same as a regular employee when it comes to an apprentice. But like I mentioned earlier, the cost of a failed hire is almost always higher than the cost of managing an apprenticeship program.
Thank you, Sherry. That makes sense. That makes sense. And did anybody else have anything to add to this discussion piece before I send it back to Dawn?
Can I
Okay.
add one more thing, Christina? Sorry. I just wanted to talk about just real quick, kind of 3 lessons learned best practices. So
Okay.
utilizing an apprenticeship intermediary helps remove the administrative burden of registered apprenticeship. So we talked a little bit about that already. Building mentorship into the mentor themselves performance goals and providing kind of train the trainer support, like how am I a good mentor, leads to much more success with the program. And sharing in the successes of the apprentice in the program, really kind of tooting the apprentice's horn, tooting your horn as the employer of apprenticeships really helps for the programs to be successful. So I just wanted to add those things in before we move on.
Thank you so much, Sherry. And that makes a lot of sense, right? It's really just being cognizant and then celebratory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Christina, Sherry, Gloria, and Robert. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our other committee member, Sheena, who is going to introduce, we have Dr. Penny Smith with us. She's the Chief Executive Officer of the Gratis Project, excuse me, and she actually started an apprenticeship. So welcome, Dr. Penny.
Hi, Dr. Penny. Good to be speaking
Hello.
with you today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it is always good to hear from an employer's perspective, right? Because this is an
Yes.
employer solution designed to meet your workforce needs. And because apprenticeships is such a amazing solution, and I think it also not only helps meet an employer needs, but also helps to reach untapped talent and provide them with a pathway to a career that they might have otherwise not had the access to, right? And so
Yes.
that's all in your mission statement is also about reaching those special populations and helping them reach economic mobility and stability while also meeting your employer needs. So a win-win solution. I'm a huge supporter and believer in apprenticeships. So I'm really excited to hear more about how it's working for you. All right. So
Yes.
our first question is, what inspired you to create an apprenticeship program for your company?
Yes. Thank you, Shayna, for the question, and thank you for everyone's time today. So Gratis Project is the sponsor of 2 apprenticeship programs located in Tennessee. So we're in the Memphis, Tennessee, serving the West Tennessee area. And our first apprenticeship program that we have registered is our food manufacturing technician. And then the second one is our workforce development specialist. And so both of those were really born out of a need as a business was growing. So think about it, at the end of the day, it's the health of the business is really what is going to carry the need and care and to be the seed for a successful apprenticeship launch. So Mickey's Popcorn, which is a gourmet popcorn factory in Memphis, that is co-owned actually by myself and my husband. We expanded into hospitality and the hotel industry as well as in grocery retail. And so our business outpaced the folks that we had that were coming to help us on as contractors. And so as a result of that, we started to develop a paid transitional employment program. So this started as a business that was growing fast. It was growing so fast that we couldn't just hire a group of 10 full-time people at the time. So we needed to figure out a way to pace ourselves towards hiring individuals. And the apprenticeship model was the way to go. So as I recall seeing some of the poll entries, you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company to start an apprenticeship program. You can be small. And so it really evolved as a way for us to need to scale skilled workers in this gourmet popcorn factory. And so we wanted to ensure that we were approaching special populations. So we've tapped opportunity youth, youth aging out of foster care, domestic violence survivors. And as we were partnering with these different agencies that were trying to help find, they were trying to rehouse these populations and they were trying to get them employed, gainfully employed. What we realized is that a lot of times their staff were coming to ask us questions about how do we help them get jobs? So we realized that some of the staff that are really more social workers, case workers, case managers, didn't have the understanding about the connection of how to connect someone to the labor force. So we also registered the workforce development specialist because they kept asking us to help them. So we wanted to like figure out a way to kind of have a formalized curriculum to be able to support our partner agencies who had social workers and case managers that really just didn't understand how to navigate the workforce development system and the labor force market. So that was really kind of what inspired us to get it started.
Wow. So you were like building your own solution while also helping others gain a pathway to careers while also just being amazing. So that is, again, leveraging the apprenticeship model in a way that was economical for your company as well, right? Versus just
Absolutely.
hiring 10 full-time employees, with hiring apprentices is a more affordable model as well for employers. So a win-win for
Absolutely.
everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Amazing, amazing. From your perspective, what makes apprenticeships a more effective pathway than, again, just hiring that traditional talent?
I would say that for us, for us to think about for our frontline workforce to try to compete with a larger company for a college educated student was just an uphill battle. We weren't going to be able to compete with those salaries.
Right.
And so the other thing is that typically traditional and I'm an ex higher ed professional as well. That learning is front loaded and theoretical. And apprenticeships, it's embedded learning.
Yes.
So there's opportunities to give instruction, application, and to allow the person to grow their skills as they're receiving related technical instruction. And so that's how we ended up structuring our program. And I think you're going to talk about structuring, but for us, it was important because of the population we're recruiting. We ended up structuring a pre-apprentice. What we learned is that many times individuals who are a part of underestimated populations, like I just mentioned, they're a DV survivor, they're opportunity youth, aging out of foster care, pregnant and parenting, first-time moms, single moms. They haven't had the opportunity to go through any kind of to go through a robust career navigation process and to become career aware. And so what we wanted to do is we have a 3-month component that is a pre-apprenticeship header before they're officially enrolled in the registered apprenticeship. We do that on purpose because it's giving them the foundational skills that, one, if they decide I thought this was of interest, but it's really not for me, then we can preserve them from actually getting full-time on payroll,
Mhm.
and they really don't want to do that job.
Mhm.
They've now discovered enough about it to know they don't like it.
That's so
We
smart.
want them to do, yeah, we want them to do that. If you don't like it, we want you to know pretty quickly,
Mhm.
but we also don't want to leave you hanging. So in
Mhm.
that 3 months, they still get Serve Safe, OSHA 10,
Mhm.
CPR, and forklift training.
Mhm.
That those are skills that they can apply to other markets, to
Mhm.
other places, or they can change their mind and come back to the industry later. So we
Mhm.
do that on purpose, just so that we ensure that they're ready and they're truly fully interested in being an apprentice. So we structure it to have a pre-apprenticeship as an on-ramp to the full registered apprenticeship program.
That's fantastic. Great minds think alike, right? So we are doing the same here at the HR apprenticeship program that we're building here in Philadelphia. We are also
Awesome.
going to have a pre-apprenticeship to again
Excellent.
develop that talent pool to make sure they're the right fit, to build in those soft skills, to get feedback from
Mhm.
our employer partners, to make sure that we are having we're developing the talent that they're really interested in. And so that is really important to have that pre-apprenticeship
Yes,
really invested in before you really invest in them as well, because apprenticeship is a long-term investment. And I like how you also started off with saying how it's a great balance of the on-the-job learning and also the industry training and
yes,
certifications as well, right? And so it becomes this apprenticeship model is very specific and relevant to you as the
absolutely.
employer, right? And so as a traditional college student, they're learning about they're a business major, right? And they're just learning about business in a very high level theoretical way. But now they're in your business. They're learning about your popcorn business and how you do things. So you're developing talent from within. They're learning your systems, they're learning your culture, and they become a much better fit. And that's why they stick,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely.
awesome. How do you structure the program to ensure both meaningful on-the-job learning while also measuring their skills development? So again, that OJT, that on-the-job training, but also whatever your RTI
Mhm.
is looking like, your curriculum, your certification, your instruction. How do you structure
Yes,
that? So, like, are they working full-time? Are they doing the learning part-time? Are they working part-time? What does your day for your apprentice look like in a way that is still contributing to your company?
absolutely. So in that pre-apprenticeship component, they're getting those certifications up front, and they are getting some work-based learning time. And so again, we consider that really the transition. They are getting paid. They get paid $15 an hour for their work during that time. And then once they finish, we conduct an evaluation to determine, are they still interested? Are they ready for full-time placement? And
Mhm.
at that point, they're placed. So we have also, because we know we're a smaller company, and we know that some of these individuals have circumstances that really aren't a good fit to work for Mickey's Popcorn. So what we've done is, as the sponsor, we've garnered other employers as our employer partners. So that's another structural component that you can embed. If you say, well, we may only need one or two apprentices realistically per year, if
Mhm.
that. Maybe we just need one a year because of the FTEs that we have available. That's okay. If you have a program, and let's say you're going to enroll 3 to 5 individuals, because the numbers can be smaller
Mhm.
for a smaller business. But if you have employer partners that say, hey, we want to hire the same type of people that you want to hire,
Mhm. Mhm.
then you have another place to place them. So we have partnered with Memphis Shelby County Schools, which is the largest employer in Shelby County. And we specifically have partnered with the nutrition department. They have a 100,000 square foot facility where they actually prepare all of the meals, breakfast, lunches, and it's distributed out daily to 150 schools in this school system from this one centralized location. So basically, the cafeterias are more ready to eat, really facilitating lunch. They're not necessarily doing all of the uh,
Serving.
cooking, preparation of the food.
Mhm.
And so we actually use them as a work-based learning rotation So they get a feel for what it's like to be there. They get a feel for what it's like in a frozen environment. What is it like in a different type of shipping and receiving environment? So they're one of our partners, and they are always hiring for positions in nutrition. And for us, we found ourselves, especially with our domestic violence survivors, typically they're single parents. And if they have children that especially cross multiple school age sectors, so you have an infant, toddler, and childcare, you may have an elementary school student or a middle school student, they found it very difficult to go work at a FedEx or an Amazon, which they could very easily be placed at coming from the skills that we've prepared them for. But we call it earn while they learn. So now we have an employer partner, which is the school district. So now you can go work in the nutrition department. Their hours are the same as the school hours.
Okay.
So now you've got a single mom with school age kids that has an opportunity to get a job because she can't work second shift. She can't work third shift, which is typically where you find if you're going to go work at a Hershey's or a Tyson's plant. And so that's the model that we've established. So we've developed partnerships with other employers that can really meet the employment needs of the population that we serve.
That's a fantastic answer. And once again, we're doing a similar thing here at the Philly SHRM HR Apprenticeship Program. We are a group model, and we are looking to bring on multiple employers and meet those specific needs. So we're going to have to wrap up this conversation, but it's been so good to hear about your success and how, again, you've leveraged the power of apprenticeships to meet your employer needs, to now meet other employer needs, to raise folks up and increase their economic mobility and access to careers they otherwise wouldn't have access to. So kudos and thank you for all the amazing work you're doing. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your success and your story with us. I'm going to turn it back over to Dawn to wrap us up and close us out.
Okay, thank
you.
you so much, everyone. I have a couple more quick poll questions. If we could just launch those, asking, let's see if we can get that up. It's basically, this is our call to action. We're asking if anyone is interested in having a SHRM rep follow up with you on this. If you could just scan this QR code, it'll lead you to a survey. If we can get that final poll question up, that'd be great. And I will continue talking until we have that.
Sorry, it's saying that you're still seeing the last poll, but I don't see that poll.
No, I don't see the poll question.
Yes, now we
have it. Yes. Okay. So based on what you heard today, do you think that this model could be a good fit for your organization? Would you like to learn more? Or B, this was great information, but probably not a good fit for us at this time. Our call to action is if you could kindly scan the QR code. If you would like someone to get back to you with more information, we have a deadline of May 7th. And just a couple of other things that I just needed to note before we go. If you give me 1 second here. Don't forget to check out our upcoming events, including our signature event, Not Just Artificial, Turning AI into Authentic Inclusion on May 4th. And there is a member appreciation event on June 4th. And we have 5 additional post-symposium webcasts that are included in your symposium credits, and you can earn 4.5 recertification credits if you attend all the webcasts. If you're not already a member of Philly SHRM, remember that members receive reduced or free event registration fees, big discounts on Philly SHRM Symposium, personal connections to the local HR and business community, access to our members-only resource area, including a membership directory, access to top leaders in our region, a chance to make a difference in our community, and lots more. You can check us out on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We appreciate you attending, all of our panelists and our moderators. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.